Think of what he could do with these stumps.
Jesus Christ, Andy.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 4 of The Unusual Suspects. I am Dan and I'm joined by...
Oh, okay, we're introducing ourselves. Hello, this is Andy.
I thought I'd make things exciting this time around, I'm sorry.
Which didn't work.
Yeah,
I also wasn't looking.
to cue you guys.
Well, you pointed in one direction, which seeing as how you're the bottom of my Zoom call, you pointed at no one. So I wasn't sure whether you...
Look, Penny, that's just how I roll in life. I just point in one direction, just go with the flow, you know.
This is a perfect introduction, though, isn't it? It's been a shambles. It'll continue for an hour and a half.
Yep.
Joining me is Andy.
Hello.
And Penny.
Hi.
There we go, we're done. So, yeah, welcome to the podcast. We're going to talk about stuff. And at the end of the stuff, we're going to talk about more stuff. AKA, we're going to talk about the movie we all watched and have many notes about the butterfly effect, which is at the end of this podcast. If you want to hear us talking about that, stay tuned. First things first, does anyone want to go first about something they want to talk about? I really don't mind because I've never been first.
Do it.
Ever. I'm so excited. I'm not really. Here we go. So I was originally, and I put this on the WhatsApp, I was originally going to talk about a horror movie. Penny got very excited about it. And I was going to talk about that, but I saw something else in the meantime that was going to be next week, but I feel like I really kind of need to get this off my chest and get it out of the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I don't want to live with the burden of like remembering this film for another week. It's that kind of thing. Has anyone heard of a movie called Little Hercules?
No.
Yeah, but I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it. Do you know the premise or who's in it? More or less?
Is it a porn parody?
It felt like it.
I've had enough today of you guys and your weird films.
Little Hercules originally came out in 3D, so it was Little Hercules in 3D when it came to cinema. I don't know if it went to cinema. It's weird. It's like the fan footage one that you talked about.
That was really convincing. You sold it to me that it went to cinema. Huge box office opening weekend as well.
But you would assume that films that come out as 3D would be in the cinema, you know, nationwide. Maybe?
No. Nightmare on Elm Street 6.
There's a 6.
Freddy's Dead. Yeah, there's 7, I think. Freddy's Dead was number 6. Don't know if it came out in the cinema, but the end of that was in 3D. So I had it on VHS.
I don't think Spy Kids
3D
4 that was in 3D came out in the cinema.
So what I assumed it was, so this Little Hercules came out in 2009, which I think was around about the time of the boom of everyone needs to get a 3D TV because they are the future.
We had one. We don't have one anymore.
Did you?
My dad likes gadgets.
How was that experience?
I think I only remember watching, was one of the Avengers in 3D? No, maybe
Probably the
not.
first one, maybe.
I feel like I only watched one movie on it, maybe. The glasses made me feel a bit weird, and you had to sit directly in front of the TV.
In the middle.
Yeah, and you can't fit 4 people directly in front of our TV in the living room, so it was fine.
Just didn't work out, yeah.
Absolutely fine, as Andy would say.
So, yeah, I mean, 2009, I think it's around about the time. But this film came out, and essentially, it's interesting. I mean, the film's not well, the film is interesting when you consider who's in it. So, Little Hercules is actually based off I think he's about 9 years old. And I remember seeing this way back in the day. This 9-year-old kid who was ripped, and he was from Ukraine. And he had like a 6-pack, and he had muscles, and he was like, he had long hair, like really, really long hair, and he was all over the news. I do remember seeing him.
Yeah, I vaguely remember it.
It was this kid who's like, basically his dad ended up like training the shit out of him when he was a young kid, and now he has like a fucking like full muscle, everything going on pretty much. So someone decided that, hey, you know what's a great idea? Let's get this little Hercules dude and let's put him in a film where he's had no acting experience. He hasn't been in any film. This is, by the way, this is the only film he ends up being. Just put him as the lead in this multi-million, I would say, considering who's in it, dollar film, and put it in 3D and release it to the world and see what happens. And he's the lead of this whole thing.
Wow.
So, Little Hercules is about Hercules. It's Hercules' story told in a very modern, cool way for the kids to all understand. And it stars, besides this guy, Hulk Hogan.
Oh, God.
How old is little Hercules in the film?
He looks about 10 or 11. Yeah, so what's his real name? Is it Paul Hogan or something?
No, that's the guy from Crocodile Dundee.
Terry Hogan. Terry Hogan's in it.
His last name's not Hogan, is it?
No, it's Hulk Terry Hogan is how they kind of pronounce it on IMDb. Well, either way.
Terry Bollea or some variation of that. Bollea.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm not going to be talking about the film that much because I will tell you now, it's god-awful. You already know it's going to be god-awful. I won't go through the whole thing. I will point out certain things about it that I find, what the fuck? But I'm not going through this whole thing because I literally checked out within 5 minutes because I don't know how this got made. And I'd rather watch a Neil Breen film over this. I think actually Neil Breen's films are better than this, which has Hulk Hogan in it, by the way. And yeah, all of his family is in it as well.
Ugh.
Which I also found out that if you remember around this time, there was a Hulk Hogan TV show going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the rumor is that Hulk wouldn't be in this film unless his family would be cast in it as well. That's kind of where he was heading with this. So he wanted to be in it, but he has every single member of his family in there as well.
They must really have wanted him then. They were like, we need Hulk Hogan in this. This film will not work without Hulk Hogan. We have to have his family in it. They couldn't just be like, get some other crappy wrestler.
Well, you say that, Penny. The Big Show is also in this as well.
Is this like a WWE film? Is it made by them?
Nope. I don't know. It's just someone decided that this was a film that people somehow wanted to see. I will be giving you visual aid just for all of you to see.
I feel bad when I don't have a PowerPoint.
So this film is, it's horrendous. You already know from the plot, it's horrendous.
Why has it got the Simpsons opening credits?
It's weird.
Everything is wrong. Everything. Editing, acting, movement.
Oh no, Judd Nelson, don't do that to yourself. You're better than that, Judd. Oh.
Previously from The Breakfast Club, and John Hurt is in this, previously in Big and Home Alone. So it's got an all-star cast going on. So they would have paid a lot of money for this kind of stuff. You know, just to get the cast in, they probably spent a lot on it. The thing is, when we talk about shit films, and I really want to put this like as a serious note, when we talk about shit films, there's a difference between Neil Breen and some film that spent millions and millions trying to make a film. Like this, to me, is worse because Neil Breen is a guy. He's a estate agent who's trying to make films as a hobby, I guess. Well, now it's not a hobby, but when you got something like this, which is a full production with Hogan and The Big Show and Judd Nelson in it, then you got to say that this is worse because it is. It just is worse. Anyway.
Sorry, there's a certain charm to shit films that are shit because they don't know what they're doing, as opposed to shit films that are just shit.
Yeah, exactly. The first thing I would like to mention is that the majority of this film takes place behind a green screen, nearly all the time. Like, the CGI in this is, if anyone's seen Filthy Frank videos, it's similar vein to that. It's actually probably worse than a Filthy Frank video, but the CGI and the green screen, the production, everything about it is fucking awful. It is terrible. I'll be showing you in a minute. The whole premise of this story, if I can call it a fucking story, is that Hulk Hogan is Zeus.
There he is.
He looks like Santa Claus wearing thorns on his head. He has his son, Hercules, of course, a young boy. And for some reason, Hulk Hogan and The Big Show have a fight. The Big Show is playing Marmaduke, which is another god, I think. Marmaduke? No, is that another god?
Marmaduke's a dog, isn't it, in a comic strip?
Well, he's Marduk, I think he's called. Well, Big Show's Marduk, and
I did classics at college, and Marmaduke is not ringing a bell.
Okay.
So I can't tell you who it's supposed to be, but
Big Show is playing some guy who challenges Zeus to a fight in wherever they are in the clouds. What happens during this fight is that Hercules decides to jump down into a pool of water that goes into Earth. And specifically, he lands in Hollywood, because of course he does. And the premise of it is that he ends up in Hollywood.
He's not ripped.
Sorry.
Sorry. He's not ripped. I thought he was buff.
Oh, he's ripped.
I also thought that was a girl.
Yeah, you might make that distinction sometimes. But yeah, he ends up going to Hollywood because he jumps down a pool of water and he ends up walking around Hollywood for a while, which is one of the funniest bits in this whole entire film, is this bit where he lands in Hollywood. And what I think they did is they got a cameraman on the side of the road and just went, just walk down the street with your shield and your sword and we'll just take it like natural. We won't close the set off or anything. We're just going to make you walk down the street in your like Hercules armor and shield and everything. And it goes on for about 5 minutes of him just walking down the street to terrible royalty-free music. I'm pretty certain it's royalty-free music as well.
I bet you they did not get a release form
He's just walking.
from any of these people, and they don't know they're in this shitty movie.
It's like Jackass, isn't it?
Yes, it's exactly like that. They film it, they go out and just film that. That's one of the scenes. That's B-roll for later kind of thing. So Hercules ends up on Earth because he fell down. And I'm going to skip a lot here because there's a lot of shit that happens, and I implore you to watch it, but there's a lot of shit that happens. He meets a kid, and I can't remember his name, and he saves him from a dog, and the dog is trying to steal this kid's skateboard, and Hercules can talk to the dog because of course he can, and he tells his dog to go away. This kid's mum finds them both in the toilet having a chat.
Hercules not wearing a shirt.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like a topless kid in her bathroom with her child.
Yeah. This is one of the weird things about this film, is that it's overly sexualized a little bit. This bit where the mum walks in, she kind of looks at Hercules. She doesn't say anything, but she kind of does like facial expressions that kind of, you wouldn't really do that to. I know he's ripped and all, but it's like, it's not, he's a kid. It's a bit weird. That's all I'll say, but it's a little bit weird. So he ends up living with these family and stuff and yada, 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 all that kind of stuff. The general premise of it is that Hercules tries to live a normal life like a human. And while he's living his normal life as a human, Zeus and the Big Show, whoever was it?
I think it said Marduk. I don't know how to pronounce it. I also can't find out how much it cost, but it made a butt ton in the Ukraine.
I couldn't find any revenue or box office figures at all. I tried for ages to look for it, couldn't find anything. So yeah, while Hercules is in high school trying to be like, acting like the cool kids or acting like a normal kid, and he's obviously not a normal kid, he's super strong, blah, blah, blah. Zeus and Marduk are watching him from above. Bear in mind, they just had a fight for no reason, and that's how Hercules escaped, because he just jumped out of the clouds. They decide that they're going to have a bet, and Zeus is going to bet his son comes back from Earth within 5 days. And Marduk decides to bet with Zeus that he doesn't come back within 5 days. And in fact, he's trapped there forever, and he's never able to become a man because he can't hang with the humans. I think that's the bet. I think.
So he won't be able to become a man. So will he stay a small Hercules child?
Yes, the whole thing they're trying to do is him to prove himself as a man. So Zeus thinks his son can do it, but the Marduk guy says, no, I bet you he stays there forever because he can't hang with everyone else.
But Hercules is a demigod, so he's half human anyway. So it should be a piece of piss.
Ah.
Yeah.
So the footage you're showing now, Nick Hogan is there, Hulk Hogan's son.
Oh, that with the stupid Mohican.
With the stupid fucking haircut. And he looks about 15 years older than everyone else. And he's just threatened to, I'm going to say, 15-year-old girls. I think he was at least 20.
You be correct, I think. Yeah.
Everyone else is, I assume, in 2009, and he's in 1994.
Let's not knock the Mohawk too much. It's a banging look.
Nick Hogan's character name is Double X.
Oh,
Of course it is. I bet that was awkward to put on the birth certificate, wasn't it?
He plays one of the many that we've already touched before in many films. He plays the school bully or the bullies, you know, the general young, he's got mohawk and he's like, yo, kid, what's up? What are you doing here? What's up, kid? You look pretty strong, kid. Blah, 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 that kind of thing. And throughout the film, he just tries to bully Hercules. But because Hercules, as you said, has super strength and he's very, he's not human, he ends up beating up these bullies and they're like, what the fuck? But in order to make this film interesting, for some reason... I say that interesting. To make this film interesting or have a plot, Zeus decides that he's going to take away the powers of Hercules because he wants him to be the natural man and to figure out how to be a man naturally. So he takes away his powers while he's on Earth when Hercules least expects it. So the next time he goes up to these bullies, he actually gets beaten the fuck up.
Oh.
So that gets rid of his powers.
What?
Yeah, to be a man, he decides to get rid of Hercules' powers, even though, by the way, he's ripped, and it's all about really inner strength, really, if you think about that. It's not really about, like, anything magical.
I thought this kid was going to have massive biceps and a six-pack.
So did I.
When you said ripped.
He's not ripped.
Like, he just looks like a kid with nice shiny hair.
He's got bigger muscles than I do.
I mean, we've all got bigger muscles than you have.
If you had just shown me some footage and asked me to pick out which one was Hercules, not sure I would know.
I think he toned it down for the film, but when he was probably a bit younger, he did have like a legitimate six-pack, but he might have toned it down. I don't know really, but yeah, before he gets his powers taken out of, he ends up being like the guy who beats up people. He's like a strong kid. He goes to sports day and he ends up throwing like discus and javelins like a million miles away.
That's bad CGI, isn't it? That was terrible.
Of course he does. Wait for it. He throws a discus and it kind of it smashes into pieces because of course.
What?
Wow. Oh my God. Against a chain link fence.
But he ends up being like this kid where everyone's like, whoa, this kid's pretty cool.
He broke our frisbee.
The whole time they're mentioning that the school is failing and the school is like on the brink of administration and stuff like this, like throughout the film. And what ends up being towards the end of the film, the main plot point, is that Hercules is going to save the school on a sports Olympian day where the schools take part in going against each other with the best athletes. So, of course, Hercules arrives when the school's about to be in administration, and maybe he could save the day with his super strength and super.
But Hulk Hogan's taken it away.
Hulk Hogan does take it away just as he says he's going to help the school.
What a dick.
And then he's a bit shit. He can't even jump. If he took away his power, I get it. He may not be able to do certain things, but he's like fucking falling over. He's tripping over shit. He's just completely useless. And they could have substitute him for anyone else and they would do a better job than he was doing without the powers, is all I'm saying. But, it's fine.
I just want to point out, Elliot Gould keeps popping up on the screen, so I looked up who he was, and he's playing Socrates. I bet it's really good. Oh, look at Judd.
So, yeah, Judd Nelson is, I like to call him the Matrix man or the blind guy in this film.
Is he tuning that piano?
He's tuning a piano.
There's also something very special about pianos in this film as well. Every time Judd Nelson appears near a piano, and Judd Nelson is kind of like the dean of the school.
He's the cool dude, isn't he?
He's the cool dude who always wears those stupid glasses. Every time he's next to a piano, the mum of Hercules' friend always appears. That's not a joke. Every time he's next to a piano, she appears. I'll show you a bit later, but yeah, she appears. He's just standing next to a piano and they have a chat. And what ends up happening is Judd falls in love with this woman. And he makes very obvious sexual innuendos to her throughout the film. The writing in this film is chef's kiss. It is fucking atrocious. It's so bad. There's many scenes where people are talking and where the edit should cut, it doesn't. So you get people going like, hi, how are you today?
Oh.
Yes, I'm fine. Like the clear indication of where to cut the film.
Some of my edits on this podcast are probably a bit like that, so maybe we shouldn't go too hard on it.
Look, if we had the budget that these guys had to pay Terry Hogan, I think it would be okay.
Can I just ask, do we know why the piano's outside right now?
I think they're clearing out the building because there were boxes with trophies in, which they didn't then seal up. They just moved to an open box with trophies in them.
Okay.
put it this way. I said I checked out this film 5 minutes in and I just paid attention to the main things, I think. I couldn't even pay, like, I literally couldn't pay attention to half this film.
I'll be honest, I'm struggling to pay attention to you. I'm just watching the visuals
I know.
and I am losing track of everything.
But wait, it gets better.
Oh, fuck up. That.
So Judd Nelson just did a scene where he jumped up in the air, very stereotypically. There's a lot of shit in this film, yes, and I will skip a lot of it. I've actually skipped quite a bit of it. But I do want to point out a couple of things that just don't make sense. So the Big Show, Marmaduke, is obviously done this bet where he thinks Hercules is not going to survive on Earth, blah, blah, blah. So in order to make sure that that stays the way it should be, as in he doesn't come back, somehow the Big Show goes to Earth and he gets a job as a teacher at this school.
What are his qualifications?
He comes in and just talks the big talk to the dean.
So many safeguarding issues with what's happening right now.
And he literally just comes up to him and goes, I know how to teach those kids in sports. And he goes, sure.
And he literally just appeared
Yep.
at the top of the stairs. Like Judd
That's it,
Nelson
he got the job.
saw his shadow appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's still like...
Big Show comes in with a big leather jacket and goes, I know how to teach these kids some manners. Got job.
That sounds ominous and a bit sexual, and I don't like it.
So literally in the next scene, Big Show is now the sports coach.
He's huge. I know he's a wrestler, but look how big he is.
Yeah, they purposely as well take shots below him so he looks bigger than he actually is, just looking up at him. He's a big guy.
I'm very short, so I'm obsessed with very tall people, as most of us. It's a short people thing.
Yeah, so he ends up being a teacher so that he can look after Hercules, basically put him through shit and put him through drills. He's already lost his power, so he's trying to, make him worse off. There's
His kid's suit.
Sorry.
Why is there a 30-year-old man in the background? Is that Britney Spears?
There's her daughter, what's her name? Brooke Hogan. She has a cameo for 5 minutes, Brooke Hogan, where she is at a school disco. She's at a school disco.
Look over his hair. Sorry.
While Nick Hogan is at the school disco with his stupid hair as well. And Hercules goes to the school disco. Brooke Hogan kind of plays a weird exotic stripper at a school dance. I don't know. I really don't know. And they have this scene and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't make sense, so I'm not going to explain it. I think that's just where I stand on this film. It doesn't make sense, so I'm just not going to explain it.
I mean, I haven't seen it. I assume you weren't paying attention. But I'm fairly certain at some point, Nick Hogan makes a pass at Brooke Hogan as the dancer or makes reference to her.
No, that's their only scene.
Didn't Hulk Hogan... Am I going to have to apologise for things again? I want to say that there was a thing... You know how Donald Trump said something kind of gross about his daughter?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Hulk Hogan said something quite gross about her.
Well, he was a bit of a racist at one point. I don't know about his daughter.
I feel like he said, I'd bang her or something.
It wouldn't surprise me. That and the sex tape, it wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, God, this... Oh, what... Oh.
Sorry, Hulk. Sorry.
Moving on. Sorry, Hulkster.
We did all our apologies last week. No more.
So, Zeus finds out that Big Show is now become a teacher at this failing school. So Zeus decides to go back to Earth and face Marduk in a battle of the gods. And this battle of the gods is destroyed by terrible CGI once again, where Big Show for some reason hits a car for no reason. He doesn't really need to, but he gets angry. He hits a car. There's green screen. There's terrible CGI effects. It's just the worst. It's so funny, but it's so bad at the same time. They somehow transition into hell just magically from the car park of this school into hell, and then they run at each other in a very slow old man motion. It's ridiculous. I'm going to skip right to the end, guys.
Oh, God. That lava was dreadful. I haven't really got much to say about any of this because I'm just fucking outraged and flabbergasted by it. So I apologise if I'm not referencing anything. I just can't fucking deal with this.
All I can find on IMDb is that it made 513,722,000 worldwide.
Oh, fuck, for a minute there.
And most of that was from Russia. It says out of 513,000, 491,000 was from Russia and the Commonwealth of Independent States, and the rest was Ukraine.
Yeah, Ukraine, yeah.
So did it even come out here?
Yep, it's all American actors, isn't it?
Yeah, but I've just got opening weekend. Worldwide and international is the same thing, but it only lists Russia, and like it's done it gross by country is just the Ukraine. So it's almost as I don't think it came out anywhere else in the cinema. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
Even though they filmed it in LA and it's in English, I can't.
It sounds like a straight to DVD thing, to be honest. But yeah.
It sounds like you're gutted you missed it.
I really would like to know how much this cost because I don't know.
It would have been a lot.
I'm furloughed, so I reckon from the looks of this, I could compete fairly well.
I mean, challenge accepted.
It was at least $1 million, the budget, at least, maybe even $2 million.
What did they spend it on? Hulk Hogan and all his family? Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Judd Nelson, John Hurd.
Oh, Judd Nelson, probably 2009, he probably needed the money. Bless him.
There you go.
Elliot Gould would have been coming off the back of Ocean's 12, 13, so he wouldn't need the cash. I mean, he would have, but he also robbed some banks, so...
Maybe he just wanted to be Socrates.
He might have been all right.
It's like Socrates. It's the role I've always wanted to play. I can't turn this down.
Yeah. And then he reads the script and, oh, fuck, this is dreadful.
One thing I did want to point out is that the main guy is named Richard, by the way, who plays Little Hercules. I originally thought because he was born in Ukraine that he would have a Ukrainian accent in this film. He doesn't, but it still sounds like his voice is overdubbed every time he speaks as well. And he's the main character.
That's probably why he doesn't have an accent.
That's probably it. But it was really weird kind of hearing him with an American accent when he was born and raised in Ukraine. I was just like, something doesn't sound right here when I'm hearing him speak. And it does sound like his voice is kind of isolated from everything else, which was a bit weird. But
I need so many more details on this film without actually having to watch it.
I'm skipping a lot because I know I'd be here forever. But the end of this film, and basically the whole reason to the build-up of all this film, is that the sports day arrives. So the Olympian sports day, where all these schools compete against one another. And Hercules still hasn't got his powers back. One of the funny things I noticed is that the bullies, played by Nick Hogan, he switched schools.
What?
Huh?
He switched schools.
What? Why?
So he could beat him in sports.
So he... I mean...
Okay, so Nick Hogan is the bully,
Yep.
but he's been at the school that the Hercules kid has been at the school for the entire film. But when this sports day happens, he's representing a different school, which means he transferred to a different school just to beat Hercules on sports day.
But Hercules hasn't even been there for 5 days yet.
Yep.
The paperwork alone to transfer schools.
I know.
He just did it. He just upped and did it. He had enough. He had enough of his shit. And he just did it. So...
And Nick Hogan's like 30. He shouldn't even be at any of these schools.
What are you doing, Nick? Get out of there. What even makes this even more interesting is that because it's a failing school, pretty much it's failed at this point. I don't even know it's failed. The only 2 kids who are representing the school that Hercules is at is Hercules and his friend that he met at the start. So it's 2 kids against Nick, who's probably in his 20s, against a bunch of other teenagers who are way older than these guys in a competition to try and save the school.
Oh, God. I'm
At the time of filming, Nick Hogan was 19 in this movie.
He looks at least, 19.
Yeah.
I mean...
That's still too old for 12-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah, Hercules tries to be like, oh, let's have a good game and stuff, and Nick's trying to be all cool as Double X and be like, no, man, I'm going to win this. You suck. Anyway, Hercules wins, of course, because he used the power, and the only power he had left, which was the power of heart and soul, to win.
Oh, like this crappy one in Captain Planet.
There you go. But the problem I have with this film is that it's all physical activities where, like, there's a scene where he's running, but he's running like 5 times the speed of a normal human being, which heart and soul I don't think would help. I don't know.
Now he's doing I Have the Power with the sword.
Yeah, there's a scene where he shouts and screams into the air with a sword. Skipping a lot of stuff. He ends up winning the sports day. Big Show gets really mad, and when Big Show gets when Big Show gets really mad, he tends to do something. He gets really angry that Hercules has won.
Who's that?
There's this guy who's from the opposite school that was the fastest runner in the world, or he was given powers by Marmaduke or something.
He looks shredded.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks shredded. Yeah.
And they're about 25.
So Big Show gets angry and Big Show explodes, just like Derek.
He went Super Saiyan.
Yeah. So Big Show exploded.
Big pile of Big Show.
Big pile of Big Show. And because he got so mad that Hercules won sports day. And the last thing I want to point out, Hercules goes back home with Zeus and they go back home, and everyone else, the school is fucked, I think, at this point. I don't know. And because it was a 3D film, they had to have one last 3D special effect, just to put it in there. So the audience remembers, that cool 3D effect that they did at the end of the film. What they decide to do is have Hogan, while he's talking to his son, put his fist out right in front of the camera and go, "Who's your daddy?"
Oh,
God.
And the film ends.
I didn't know he said, "Who's your daddy?" And now I don't feel very well.
He's just like, "Who's your daddy, brother?"
I don't know. Who is your daddy, brother? Am I your uncle? I don't understand.
And that is Little Hercules, 2009 film, by the way, guys.
I'm disappointed we can't watch that with our anticular 3D glasses, though.
Yeah, I'm now showing them a shredded version of him. Yeah, that's scary. That's when he was smaller.
Yeah, he does not look like that now. I'm not body shaming him, but what?
Yeah, it's just uncomfortable to watch. Do you want to have a guess of what he does now?
I don't, because I think I saw it.
Andy?
Does he... Let me just quickly scroll through his Wikipedia.
The clue is he hasn't been in a film since, so it's something entirely different.
Is he an engineer for NASA?
He is not. He actually looks a bit like this.
Is that him?
That is him.
Oh.
He's kind of looks normal. He's got rid of his shreds and stuff, and he looks like a normal guy. Got beard, ponytail. He's now a stuntman for Universal Studios, where he gets set on fire every week and jumps out of a...
I mean, in fairness, that looks like a cracking job. I'd be up for that.
Yeah.
So good on him. Done well for himself, I gotta be honest.
He moved to Pennsylvania when he was 2, hence the lack of accent.
Okay. So it still sounded weirdly like overdubbed. I don't know why, but yeah, that's this film.
Wow. I'm so glad I don't have to watch it.
There's so much I could have gone into, but I literally skipped about half of the shit that goes on in this film. But yeah, either way, there you go. Little Hercules.
I don't think I've struggled with anything as much as that for a long time.
I know. I could see it in your face. I was struggling looking at it.
I feel exhausted and defeated.
Honey? Who is this?
Oh, it's Hercules, Mom. I told you I brought a friend home.
Your friend's hurt. And by the way, he's half naked.
Yeah, but that's the new style.
So I brought some movie-related Would You Rathers.
Hooray! Yay. Something light-hearted before we slit our wrists.
Just you.
It's always just me.
I didn't come up with any of these. I got them off the internet. It's harder to find Would You Rathers that aren't horror movie-based, believe it or not. So I have a few, and we don't need all of them. I wasn't sure I was going to include all of them, but now I have to include this one. My sister sent me some questionable Disney-themed ones.
Oh, yay.
So I guess out of my list first has to be, would you rather do doggy style with Hercules, the Disney version, not the child, or have swing sex with Tarzan? And why, please, boys?
Andy? So doggy style with Hercules or swing sex with Tarzan?
I'm going to go for Tarzan.
Why?
Because he's not an incredibly strong god. He's not going to split me like a watermelon.
Reasonable.
I'll still generally be in one piece afterwards. With Hercules, you never know. Just be found in a small half-inch hole in the ground.
In a ditch.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Tarzan because it sounds fun.
Sounds like less effort if you're just swinging around.
Yeah, just
Some like centrifugal force.
stick me on there. Just
Stick me on.
I didn't think about my answer for either of these, but I feel like probably Hercules because I don't know what Tarzan's been doing in the jungle. At least Hercules is he's got like a nice clean toga on. Tarzan's probably got some monkey poop on him somewhere. Not into it.
Are you saying that Tarzan's loincloth is probably soiled with animals?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay, just confirming.
I also don't know how Tarzan has a bath, so...
In a waterfall.
Yeah.
There's a bath in a river.
Right, would you rather only be able to watch Sharknado for the rest of your life or never watch a movie ever again? Dan.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'd probably never watch a movie ever again because I'll just make my own.
You still can't watch it, though.
Oh, yeah, I can't watch a movie. No, I wouldn't watch it.
Is it only movies? Can you still watch like documentaries and or series?
Documentaries, I'd say no.
I'd say no. I don't want my mind warped by Sharknado because if I watch that too many times, it would probably fucking send me into like a serial killer vibe.
I could maybe extend it to the Sharknado franchise, if that helps.
Oh, thank you.
It's very generous.
I'd still say no.
I'm going to go for yes, just Sharknado, on the assumption that if the choice is not watching anything or just watching Sharknado, I don't have to watch Sharknado every day. I can watch it once every 10 years. So that's what I'll do.
I don't know if I even want to watch it once every 10 years.
I watched it once and I never watched it again, so there you go.
You're coming up for that 10-year anniversary, though, so the clock is ticking.
Quick, put it in the hat. Tara Reid's acting. Oof. Take that oof as you will. Good oof, bad oof.
Wait, wasn't she in American Pie or something?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think she's done drugs and had a bad time, and now she's famous. And it's her and some guy from Beverly Hills 90210.
Oh, Tara, I miss you. What happened to you?
Sharknado.
Oh, well, okay.
I think she gets her arm bitten off, which is quite funny. But yeah, if that's true, I'd watch that once every 10 years.
She was like my high school crush, pretty much. I think her and Jennifer Lopez. Secrets about Dan you didn't want to know about. Coming up next.
Would you rather try and open a bag of Doritos in a quiet place, as in the movie, not just like a really quiet room?
Not a library.
Yeah. Or unload the dishwasher in Jurassic Park?
Oh, I really want to see both these scenes.
Yeah.
I'd probably unload the dishwasher. Well, why would I need to unload the dishwasher if there's dinosaurs in the vicinity?
Because you're working in the Jurassic Park kitchen.
Yeah.
And velociraptors hate mess. So you have to put the plates away before the velociraptors come in. But you can't make a sound. They can't hear you.
Is that canon? That velociraptors hate messes?
It is now.
Yeah. I'd probably go for dishwasher because then because they're dumb and I could use that to distract them a little bit. So
I will go for Doritos in a quiet place, the film, not a library, because, it's like a final meal, isn't it? Knock back some Doritos, then you're dead. Perfect. You're out of that shit situation.
what, chili hot flame is going to be your last meal, Doritos, or Cool Original is going to be your last meal?
Absolutely. Wash them down with a can of Monster. Good to go.
Man, you're going to die before me. Jesus Christ.
I feel like just because of your answer, I don't like Doritos. So the dishwasher.
But I do like dishwashing.
I actually didn't get around to seeing A Quiet Place. So I don't know what the monster is.
Me neither.
But you have a point. I could maybe throw the plates if I needed to distract the dinosaur.
It's a weapon. Doritos aren't fucking weapons, man.
No, but they're fucking tasty.
Yeah, but you're just going to kill yourself over a bag of Doritos. I'm trying to stay alive.
It's fine. I like Doritos enough. I wouldn't want to be running around.
It's fine. I'm okay to die here.
Look, if I've got a choice of living in Jurassic Park with some fucking velociraptors trying to fuck up my kitchen all the time, or strolling around with two young kids, and the only way out is a packet of Doritos, I'm taking those Doritos every single day of the week.
I think if you saw the film, you would change your mind.
I don't know. I like Doritos and don't like kids, so I'm out. Also, I struggle to unload my own dishwasher and there's no velociraptors here. So I'm out for that as well. Give me the Doritos.
I mean, I don't think it's about how well you unload the dishwasher. I think it's about how quietly.
What's happened to this podcast?
Desserts last week. Speaking of what happened to this podcast, would you rather have sex with the beast but he turns into human Adam. I didn't know that was his name.
Adam.
When he climaxes. Or have sex with Adam and he turns into the beast when he climaxes.
Fucking Pen. These questions are mental.
It's a reasonable question.
I can thank my sister for these. She found them somewhere.
Thanks very much, Jenny Bennett.
Oh, man. Do I have to come if he comes? Welcome to the Unusual Suspect.
No one's going to kink shame you if you shag him as the beast and you come first, Dan. It's a safe space.
Right.
If that's your thing, then no one's going to shame you.
But can I fake it is what I'm saying.
I think it doesn't matter. He has to come. I don't think he gives a shit whether you do or not.
He must come on you.
You guys have to have sex, and when he comes, which he won't stop till he does, he's either going to turn into Adam or the beast, respectively. Depends how you feel.
Is this us outing Dan as a furry?
I'm gonna say I'd rather see his climax not as a scary monster but rather a human. So I'm just gonna say when I'd fuck him as the beast, and then when he stops he would be a human again. So yeah. There you go. Can I not answer some of these questions?
I would go the other way around.
Really?
Yeah, because then when you get to cuddle afterwards, it's going to be all nice and fluffy.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah, I'm changed my answer actually. Yeah, that's a good point. I like a good cuddle.
I feel like I originally went with Dan, but then I realised I'm really not sure I want to say it now.
Mate, go on.
Well, this is in secret. We're all friends.
I don't know how to put this politely.
Oh.
If you're banging him as Adam and he comes and turns into the beast, could have some challenging anatomical issues that may cause permanent damage.
I think
Do we get what we're saying?
at this point, if I found myself in this situation, I would be heavily intoxicated, couldn't give a shit what happens in the next 10 minutes, and trying to forget this moment. So I think that's the least of my worries.
Presumably, it would be different for you and I, Dan, than it would be for Penn.
I would hope so.
That's true, yeah.
But I don't know how big is Beast. Like, I want to be intact by the end of it either way. I hope my mum never listens to this.
I don't know how big the beast is. Yeah, let's move on.
Yep. Last one. Isn't everybody excited? Would you rather lick Captain Jack's feet? Or I feel a little bit bad now. Or kiss Steve Buscemi?
Oh.
Don't really know what's supposed to be so bad about Steve Buscemi.
Is this one of Jenny's as well?
No, I found this one on like BuzzFeed or something.
That's heartbreaking. Poor Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
I'd go for Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, I'll probably kiss him because I felt bad.
Fair enough. And there you go. That is the end of Would You Rather. No jingle. Yeah.
That was anticlimactic, wasn't it? That last one.
Yeah, I should have finished with the Beast, really. As, you know.
As we all did. Ba-dum. I couldn't get the drums in. Anyway,
Yep.
Andy, do you have anything to say about?
If anyone ever gets around to listening to this, Instagram or Twitter us some more Would You Rathers, because they were quite hard to find. Thanks.
There you go.
I don't have anything this week. I've been too traumatized.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Let's move on to our movie out of the hat, which this week was The Butterfly Effect.
So, similar to last week, one of my notes is, what the fuck, Andy?
Yeah, you always keep saying what the fuck in our
Yeah.
WhatsApp group, and I'm getting worried that everything we recommend is going to be, what the fuck, Dan? What the fuck, Andy?
Just so far.
I'm getting that put on a t-shirt with Penny's face on it.
I've written what the fuck, Andy, in capital letters twice on this piece of paper.
You text me at least 3 times as well, saying that.
This film ruined my day.
So just for everyone, if you're new, this is something that we do every week. We pull out a movie out of a hat at the end of every episode and say we're going to watch it and then talk about it next week. So last week we pulled out The Butterfly Effect, which is a 2004 film starring Ashton Kutcher, whatever her name is.
It's a very 90s, 2000s cast. A noughties cast.
Yeah, it had that feeling.
I loved it. Ashton Kutcher, Amy Smart, Eldon Henson. I was all up for it when I saw who was in it, and then it ruined my day.
Can we go through the plot in a linear fashion? Start from the beginning and go to the end instead of bouncing around?
How long is that going to take us, though?
Oh, who gives a shit? Let's do it in a sensible order instead of fucking about.
Okay.
I don't know what's wrong with me today. This film has really affected me in bad ways.
I shouldn't have started with the Hercules thing. Fucking hell, he set him off. Okay, so Ashton Kutcher plays Evan, who basically gets severe headaches. He has basically blackouts headaches especially in his young. I can't remember when he starts the film. Is he like 6 years old?
Oh no, he's 7, and he's played by
7.
Logan Lerman from Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I didn't realise. I love him, and he's an adorable little baby Ashton. So there you go. But he was 7.
So he plays him, and the first kind of scene, I guess, well, the first thing I've noticed, which is the first thing put on here, was that when this kid is at school, he's drawing in an art class, and the teacher is really worried about his drawing. So the teacher goes up to the mum of Evan and says, "Can you come and see me? Your child has drawn something I find quite disturbing." Well, she doesn't say quite disturbing, but she just says, "Come and see me." And the drawing was of a man killing another man, but when I saw it, I immediately laughed. So I don't know why. I found the drawing really funny because it was just like, if it was Stickman with like a knife.
It was really well drawn.
Yeah, it was like, that's the thing. It was so well drawn that it was just made me laugh of how much time he put into it.
Definitely wasn't drawn by a 6 or 7-year-old. It was outstanding.
Yeah.
Also, I've just written, Evan hates Nazis. Problem? Because one of the dudes in the picture has got a swastika armband on.
Does he?
Has he really?
Yeah, because I'm going to skip forward slightly. Sorry, Andy. When he's in jail later on, he kills those 2 white supremacists, doesn't he? And then the picture, one of them is a Nazi. So that's, I assume, him in the future killing them. I don't know. But yeah, my first note is just, he hates Nazis. What's the problem? Why is the teacher like stitching him up?
Are you saying that the black teacher is pro-Nazi?
No, that is not what I said.
We apologize.
I'm just saying that Evan doesn't like Nazis, which is okay.
So they're worried about Evan, and the psychiatrist or the doctor gets the mum to get the son, Evan, to write a journal every day so that he can keep tabs of what he's doing. And I immediately went, so what, the son is going to write this down for your benefit or for his benefit? I didn't get the journal at all. If a doctor or someone came up to me and said, I want you to write a journal and then I'm going to look at it later, that's understandable. But
he said to his mum, get him to write down everything he does all day.
But does she read it?
He said to read it back, or him to read it back and see if he remembers anything different the next day. But it doesn't look like he read it back because he didn't read it back till he was a grown-up.
Yeah.
So it looks like he wrote it and then it wasn't relevant for like another 7 years.
Well, it's also not unusual for them to recommend that because it's a release of putting those thoughts down and getting rid of them to an extent.
Yeah.
Next note I have on here is child pedo. So when he's a kid, Evan has a traumatic experience that we see different flashes of throughout the film, but the first kind of flash.
So many times. So many flashes of paedophilia. Implied paedophilia, not actual paedophilia.
Yeah.
There's a lot. We had to revisit it a lot.
This film is 15s, by the way, and there's like full frontal nudity in it. It's weird.
What's that?
Really weird.
Who's name?
Yeah.
In the shower.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, he has this traumatic experience with him and the girl. Who's the girl's name?
Kaylee.
So they're kind of like best friends or whatever. And there's another kid called Tommy.
Tommy is Kaylee's brother. And during this child pedo scene, Kaylee's brother is kind of watching from afar as...
I can't believe I'm having to relive this.
Yeah, their dad decides to get Evan and Kaylee to strip and blah, blah, blah. We kind of go in and out of that throughout the film, but I'll just kind of skip over that. Evan's dad is a nut, turns out.
Played by Eric Stoltz. Oh, sorry, Evan's dad. Kaylee's dad is played by Eric Stoltz, who is usually creepy and a douchebag in most movies.
Yeah.
Fits the criteria. I don't know Evan's dad's name.
Jason is Evan's dad.
Jason. He's in a psychiatric hospital. And again, we see kind of like, well, we see a quick flashes of what's happening in every scene, but they end really suddenly. So like when he goes to visit his dad in the hospital, he sees his dad and then suddenly his dad's choking him out and then suddenly his dad is dead. It's like really quick flashes of how it goes through his life.
His dad tries to kill him, doesn't he? He like chokes him, and you're like, okay, he's repressing these awful memories. But then I guess that's why he's repressing the dead dad bit as well. But I just thought that was really weird.
The dad kind of understands in a way what Evan is going to go through in a way because he's had it. I think obviously, they're trying to get to the adult bit as quickly as possible, but need to explain part of the backstory before they get to actual, when he's actual adult. 6 years later, there's a mailbox, which is the weirdest looking mailbox I've ever seen outside someone's house.
It was a replica of their house.
Is it exactly their house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a replica.
Why?
Because they're American.
Americans.
That's what they do.
Love that stuff.
Yeah. It's weird that Penn and I both thought the same thing. Fucking Americans.
I got very confused by it, and then I realized, it must be a mailbox. But anyway, it's 6 years later, and Evan and the gang are young children. I'd say they're about 11, 12, I think, aren't they?
13.
13, close. And Tommy...
He's a douchebag.
Yeah, he wears a leather jacket, and he acts like a 30-year-old smoker.
Yeah, and he's unusually strong for such a short kid.
Yeah, like...
He's a very small kid, and he was, like, beating the shit out of people.
I feel like I'm going to meet him, like, in the Bronx in New York, in the back alley, and he's going to be like, give me your money.
He's got a packet of like cigarettes rolled up in his sleeve, like they do in movies. But he's 12.
Yeah, it was a bit over the top. I know, tough guy character, but when you're that age,
and he was really short,
especially what he does later in the film,
yeah,
I was like, no, man, this is too much.
Evan could have taken him.
Probably. So we cut to a scene where they're staring at a mailbox. And they are deciding to put it's not dynamite, it's just an explosive, isn't it, really?
I thought it was a firework or a firecracker.
I thought it was a firework, yeah.
But it turned out to be like an actual stick of dynamite.
Yeah, correct.
Where they got that from, I don't know.
From George's house, from Kaylee's dad's house.
Yeah.
So Tommy was like, my dad's got this. They called it something. Let's go get it. And he gets it. And I'm like, they're putting a firecracker in the mailbox. But then I also didn't realise what happened immediately. So, yeah, they put the firecracker in the mailbox.
And then he blacks out.
So you don't know what's happened. But their friend Lenny is really... Love Lenny, bless him, was really traumatized.
Yeah.
They're carrying him and I'm like, did he get hurt or something? Because they made him put the dynamite in the mailbox. So I actually didn't realize how bad it was originally.
Yeah, you don't find out till a bit later on.
Yeah, the opening scenes they give you the idea of what it's like, but obviously you're not going to know the full extent of what happened until later on. And then again, when he starts to change things around. Well, the next bit I've got on here is the dog scene.
Oh, yeah, mine says dead dog. What the fuck, Andy?
Yeah, so leather jacket boy Tommy, who's acting like a 30-year-old smoker, is kind of pissed off that Evan is getting with his sister, and he's been kind of doing these faces at the camera every so often, so he's just staring at them going like, why are you two together, kind of thing. And eventually he snaps and he decides to grab Evan's dog, put him in a bag, put some oil fluid on it, and the gang arrive just in time to see him about to burn the dog. Does it flash back out of this as well? I'm trying to remember all this.
Yeah, he blacks out.
Blacks out again at this point.
Yeah.
He wakes up and he is not in good shape. He's all bleeding and stuff. Kaylee's sitting there crying and bleeding. The bag with the dog in it is smouldering.
Oh, yeah.
And Lenny is crying and saying that he couldn't untie the rope. And it's horrible.
Yes.
It was at this point that I texted you both and said, I'm so sorry. This is the one part I felt bad about and was like, Jesus, I've made a mistake here.
I actually liked it as a film. I just was not expecting it today.
Heavy for a Tuesday afternoon, isn't it?
Yeah.
We turn to, I think, another 7 years later, or at least a long time. And he's now Ashton Kutcher. He's now older, in his early 20s, 19, can't remember. And he lives with a goth roommate.
Goth Ethan, please!
Hi, my name is Goth. That's what I put. It's the guy from Hi, my name is Earl.
Goth Ethan Suplee. Is that how you say his name? Suplee.
Yeah.
Or Suplee. I don't know.
Suplee.
But again, only thing in capitals. He was the best part of this movie. I loved him in this so much.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Is that where you were drumming?
Yeah.
For a second there? You were like properly air drumming.
I was waiting to get to this bit. because it was my favourite bit.
He likes to have sex next to Evan because they live in the same room and have sex with goth girls, and he's also like a fat goth, and it's just funny.
One of the wisest things I've ever heard said ever in this movie, because when Evan is talking to a different girl about Thumper, who's gothy principally, he's saying how Thumper's always getting loads of chicks. And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, charisma and eyeliner go a long way. One of the truest things I've ever heard, ever.
I wrote exactly the same thing.
Yeah, charisma and eyeliner go a very long way.
I've never tried it. I don't have the charisma for it, but I have seen it work many, many times.
Next bit, I've got on here funny airplane scene. I can't remember.
Funny airplane. Oh, because Lenny has loads of airplanes.
Oh, yeah. So is it Evan goes to visit Lenny because...
He doesn't remember what happened at the mailbox.
He reads one of the journals.
Oh, that's what I had written down. Sorry. The girl that Evan takes back to his house.
Oh, yeah.
That he's talking about charisma and eyeliner. She gets him to read one of his journals, and I've just written, not good foreplay.
And he passes out.
Like, that is such a downer. Like, you know, they get in the room, they're kissing. He's like, do you want a beer? She finds his journal, makes him read it. I'm like, that's a boner brother.
Turn me on.
And yeah, he passes out, so it doesn't work.
He also jumps back to the day with the dog. So that's the first time he understands what happens.
Which is why he has to go back to see Lenny.
Yeah.
To see what happened. Which the only reason I put funny airplane scene is when he goes to visit Lenny, he goes in and he's surrounded by airplanes. He's obviously obsessed with it because he's probably traumatized by everything. And the bit where Lenny goes, I can't remember the exact line, I might be paraphrasing here, but when he just shouts out, fucking leave me alone. I can't remember what he says, but
he says, if you make a, is that the make a peep bit? He says something that Tommy said to him.
Yeah.
He says, drop it or I'll slit your mother's throat in her sleep.
Drop it in the sea, you must float. And I was just jumped out.
He's doing it whilst he's painting model aircraft. He's also got a race car bed.
Yeah.
So he must also be 20. So we'll come back to it. I've got some opinions.
Do we find out what happened with the mailbox at this point?
No.
Well, the next bit that happens is the actual mailbox scene again, because he starts reading his journal and we get the bit where we see part of the mailbox scene again, but we actually see what happens a little bit further on. So this woman is coming out of a car and she actually parks up next to the house that has the mailbox. At this point, the explosive is already in there and the guys are looking on watching the mailbox. And I think she just goes up to the mailbox and you just hear an explosion and then it cuts out.
Yeah.
You don't see anything, but you hear an explosion.
She's got a baby with her. I think that's the important aspect.
Yeah, the baby's still there, yeah. Yeah, she walks up to the mailbox for some reason. Like, there is no reason for her to do that, though. Come on.
She's checking her mail.
That's how you get your post in America, in a box.
It's the middle of the day.
Maybe she's been out working all day.
Yeah, well, she's been out with her baby. She goes to check the post.
Evan is awoken by his friend Thumper eating pussy next to work is what I put.
Yes, Thumper.
Yes, Thumper. Yeah. So Mum and Evan decide to go to the doctor. No. Sorry. They go for dinner and they catch up and stuff. And she says, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And then they go to a psychic. That's kind of like one of these psychics you see in town and just like, whatever. Let's go see. Read your mind and stuff. Evan puts his hand out to the psychic. And immediately, as soon as she sees his hand, she goes, have you seen a psychic before? And he goes, no. And then she goes, you have no soul.
I didn't need any of this bit. I know it comes back in later on, but I felt like Terry.
I know. You have no soul.
And he's not even ginger. Sorry, easy joke.
Penny.
I know.
We apologize to all ginger people.
I really like making easy, obvious jokes. I'm sorry. It's a problem. I'll cut it out. It's fine.
They won't know, and I cut this bit out as well.
And this bit. And this bit.
So yeah. The psychic says he has no soul, and then Mom is starting to smoke cigarettes, which may come into play later. She's saying my son has no soul. She tells him that before you were born, I had 2 stillborn children, and you were the 3rd one, and you stay alive, so you are my little miracle.
Can I go back to the soul bit? I've just say she does say you have no soul, but she also says you have no lifeline.
Yeah.
On the palm. So that's why she's saying you have no soul, is because he doesn't have a lifeline and there's no future, so she can't read it.
Yeah, and she says you shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I read that as kind of, that's where the stillborn bit came in, and obviously it wasn't, but...
Yeah. I think there's another jump at this point, but there's the bit where he goes to see the girl at the diner and she's working like a shitty job. But I think before that, he does have a flashback to something. It's really hard to keep up with this film, how many flashbacks there are, but he has a flashback to
The basement.
the basement, yes. And in that scene, I didn't write everything down, sorry.
Because he has a flashback about the basement and then he goes to see Kaylee to ask her about it.
Yeah.
And then she freaks out. She's like, why are you bringing it up? And it was a long time ago and it doesn't matter. And she leaves and he goes home. And then somebody calls him. Tommy calls him.
Yeah.
And says, what the fuck did you do? She called me last night and she was crying on the phone for an hour and now she's dead. She killed herself.
Good job, man.
Yeah. So that's why he then wants to jump back.
So he jumps back to the pedo scene. We'll call it the pedo scene, I guess. But he jumps back to that scene because he feels like that's where the moment was, the butterfly effect, where it happened. And he decides to shout at her dad, calling her dad a fuckbag, or calling dad a fuckbag throughout the whole scene, going, listen here, fuckbag.
But also, he's 7 in that, right?
Yeah.
But it's himself now.
Yeah, it's himself. So he's like, listen, fuckbag, I know you're a pedo. Stop being a pedo. Don't touch your daughter again. And he's like, okay, I won't. I'm like, really?
Yeah, I did think that too. Like, is he that much of a wuss?
Yeah.
I mean, he would be probably if he was a pedo.
He'd probably be like, well, I won't be a pedo with you because you'll tell everyone.
Exactly, yeah.
I just thought it was really weird. He's like, okay, it's like, you know, if it was that easy with all pedos, 7-year-olds going, don't do that, then we wouldn't have this problem.
If you were a 7, this is going to get weird. If you were a paedophile and a 7-year-old came up to you and said, stop fucking around with your daughter because she'll become an empty shell and then she will kill herself, are you saying that you would be like, whatever, you're just 7, I don't believe you? Because his whole demeanour would have changed from being a 7-year-old to being a 20-year-old in a 7-year-old body.
Maybe, but 7-year-olds say weird stuff you just ignore all the time.
Yeah, true.
I just don't think him going, stop being a pedo, is really gonna do it.
Well, it did. And he changed the past, so that means the future must be changed. So as soon as he snaps out of that, he goes back to present day, and him and Kaylee are married?
No, they're just together in college. But I do like that the first jump forward, he actually just becomes Ashton Kutcher. Like, he's wearing like Ashton Kutcher clothes and he's a frat boy. I'm like, oh, he's him now.
So yeah, he's fitted in with a different crowd, but he's madly in love with Kaylee and everything's going great. I love the way they like, this is a real filmy, nerdy thing, but I love the way in this is like everything's bright and wonderful.
Yeah, they turned it into like a different movie.
Yeah, it is. It's really weird, but yeah.
Well, the tones changed throughout every flashback as well.
Like, they even had Jimmy Eat World playing in the background. Like, it was proper teen movie, which we know I love.
American Pie kind of thing, yeah.
But yeah, seeing as how it was the first jump, it did feel a little bit too much of a change for me. I'm just like, oh, it's turned into a completely different film. And then I was like, oh, we're back again now.
So life is good for Evan, and it's all well and good. But what ended up happening, because he changed that scene, the brother was sat on the stairs the whole time it was going on. And because the dad couldn't, I guess, what's the right way of putting this, put all his hate into two childs, he put it into just one, which ended up being Tommy. And he ended up having a terrible life, while Kaylee and Evan ended up having great lives. Tommy's just come out of prison and he's pissed because Evan's
ruined his life,
having sex with his sister, and he ends up going to find Evan, and they find them in the college or wherever they're at, and he has a baseball bat and he's going to beat the living shit out of him. Unfortunately, Evan makes the mistake, beats the shit out of him.
Yeah, I also thought it was weird that he went that far. Like, obviously he's trying to stop Tommy from killing him, but then there was one point where he could have stopped.
It was the past, I think, just because he always was a jerk, and I think it was just he snaps and then.
Fair, he was.
I mean, it was too much. It was too much, obviously.
Especially in the teen movie bit, and then suddenly he's murdering Tommy.
Well, he makes references to Lenny and the baby as well as he's doing it, and the dog. So he's obviously lived everything, like all those timelines.
Yeah, exactly. So Evan goes to jail and he becomes a bitch in jail.
Oh, because he's so pretty.
He is the pretty young boy that comes in and everyone's like, oh, check him out. And he has, I can't remember the guy's name, but his jail friend or his cellmate is this very religious guy.
Carlos.
And he's got religious tattoos on him and stuff. And he's actually doesn't treat him too badly. He just says, you know, you got to know your place here, blah, blah, be careful, all that kind of stuff. So Evan is kind of getting bullied in this place, food getting taken off him and all this kind of stuff. And he realizes that, well, actually before that, there's the scene, the nighttime scene when the cop gets given some contraband as a bribe. And then they walk into Evan's cell and they have a lovely hug.
They reenact You and the Beast.
You don't see it, but you expect it. You know, you just...
Is it bad that I blacked out and don't remember that bit?
You blacked out.
I know they had a fight.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll be seeing you later. And he actually saw him later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I blacked out. I do not remember that bit at all.
What I don't understand is that Carlos was presumably underneath him.
That's what I immediately thought. I was like, what?
That's not his shit. You got to know your place. You can't get involved with that.
I guess he just watched.
It's like Carlos as a voyeur. This podcast takes some really weird routes, doesn't it? This comes out most weeks.
This is the most sexual podcast we've done.
I can't believe this film traumatized me that I blacked out some of it so that I wouldn't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So anyway, he does get his special hug and he is kind of traumatized by it, but he realizes after having a conversation with Carlos that he says to him that he can speak to God because he's trying to like connect with someone. So he connects with Carlos and says, you know, I can speak to God. And he doesn't believe him. He said, I'll prove it to you. Box of smokes says, I'll prove it to you. He says, okay, go on, do it. So his way of proving to him is he's going to go and suck the dick of the head guys of the jail.
The Nazis.
The Nazis, yeah. And yeah, he goes up to their cell and pretends to about to suck the dicks to know his place in the jail.
It is quite funny how he asks. He's like, do I suck your dick now? Which now makes more sense. Now I know about the special hug.
Did you just think he was being really generous?
I must have just looked away and I do not remember any of it. Maybe I looked at my phone or something instead and I just completely missed it.
We'll make a flan later, Evan. I'll see you later. Paul Hollywood's coming.
Oh, we don't have any eggs. Where's Marjorie?
Plenty of cream, though.
Oh, I feel sick. So he goes to suck these guys' dicks, but he ends up stabbing them in the penis. Then grabs the journal.
Oh, yeah, because they took his journal, didn't they?
Because they took his journal and they started bullying him, saying all the stuff that he wrote in the journal, and they were bullying him like it was back in high school. Anyway, jails, aren't they funny? He reads the journal while Carlos is trying to hold the jail cell in while everyone's trying to kill him. He eventually reads it in time and has a flashback to...
He tries to save the dog this time.
Yes.
So he goes back to the dog scene.
Hang on a second. We've missed an integral bit. The way he convinces Carlos to get involved is he reads a scrap of paper that takes him back to the classroom where he draws the picture of the Nazis. And to prove that he can talk to Jesus, he slams his hands down on those two like spikes that you put receipts on.
Yeah.
He comes back and he's got scars on his hands. I don't know, A, why they would have that in a classroom with 7-year-olds.
Especially ones that draw pictures of them killing Nazis.
Yeah. And B, the teacher was walking around looking at other people's pictures. Why didn't she go past his and go, fuck you drawing, boy?
Just like that.
Because she's against Nazis, like we all are.
So in the flashback, he tells Lenny, well, he knows what's coming with the dog and stuff. So he tells Lenny, here's like a shard of, I think it's glass or concrete or something.
Steel.
And he says, when the time is right, you know what to do.
He does tell him to cut the rope.
Oh, yeah, cut the rope. You know what to do. Cut the rope. And they go see Tommy. He's about to obviously burn the dog. And Evan kind of talks him out of it and says, no, I won't be with your sister. Don't worry. I won't do anything. At this point, Tommy's putting down the torch. He puts it all the way down. Lenny just comes out of nowhere and stabs him in the back.
To which I've put, Lenny kills Tommy, which is fair, to be honest, because he was a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was done. He was like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. He just gets...
Yeah, but Lenny was traumatized because do we now know what happened with the baby?
Well, no, we do know at this point that the baby got
yeah.
killed, yeah.
So when the dynamite exploded, it killed the baby and the mum. And because Lenny put the dynamite in there, he feels responsible. And Tommy was like, you go and do it. You have to do it. So he's mad at Tommy for making him kill a woman and a baby, basically.
The problem with these films, and it's a lot of these films, is that always someone has to be a substitute for someone else's crime, especially. So if someone else is not the killer, another person is. And that's kind of, because I've seen so many of these kind of films where it's like, you change something in the past, but you're not the killer, but this other person is. I understand that he's kind of broken in the past because of what's happened, but you know, I don't feel like everyone in here has a bad time. You know, there's going to be like a normal route. Like if Tommy's not a killer, Lenny's going to be the killer. Or if Lenny's not a killer, then I don't know, the girl's going to be a killer or something. Like it always seems to be like that kind of way, which, you know.
I guess this is what keeps him quantum leaping. Yeah. Keeps him jumping back, because in the first one, Lenny's not happy. And then in the next one, you know, it's all like, oh, in this one I can fix this for Kaylee, but then Tommy's not happy.
Yeah, it's each character's.
So something awful has to happen to all of them, otherwise,
exactly,
he'd just stay.
So Tommy does die, and what happens in the present day? The main thing is Kaylee's kind of prostitute now. Well, Tommy is dead because of the grief of that. She's just done drugs. Become a prostitute.
He does not look good, does she?
Evan goes to see her. She doesn't give a shit. She hates him for telling Lenny to go and do the right thing at the time, and that's kind of what killed her brother and stuff. So he jumps back again. He goes back to the mailbox scene again, and this time Evan runs to the mailbox before the woman and the baby get there.
I'm assuming because he doesn't remember. He runs, he's like, they're shouting, no, 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 get away from it.
Yeah.
And Tommy runs past it and pushes her away. So Evan didn't actually need to run near it.
Yeah.
So the only thing I could think of is because he doesn't remember it blowing up and killing people, he doesn't really realise how big the blast will be. Otherwise, it just seemed like, why?
Yeah, because he does black out during the blast. So, yeah.
I think he just thought he had more time than he had.
See, look, now I'm overthinking it because this is confusing.
But either way, Evan gets hit by the blast and he wakes up in the same bed in college, but with the same... Oh, no. He wakes up with Lenny as his roommate, and Evan is stretching out, and he realizes when he's stretching out, where's my arms?
I didn't mean to laugh.
Everyone is laughing but me. Just put that for the tape.
It's just the way he... Like, the CGI also didn't look great.
Yeah.
Wasn't great.
It's 2004 or whatever it was. Yeah.
He lost quite a lot below the elbow, right? So did he just have like...
Yeah, one arm was more than the other, I think, wasn't it?
It was below the elbow on one and above the elbow on the other.
I don't know about you guys. When I wake up, I don't like wiggle my arms and then be like, oh, it was just the way he kind of wiggled them. I was like, oh, they're not there.
Yeah, so he starts screaming and he realizes that it's Lenny there having sex, and he's all cool because he's like, yeah, go ahead, man, you have sex. And then he realizes his arm is gone, and then he realizes that Kaylee's fucking Lenny. Dun, dun, dun. Uh-oh.
I had so many problems with this jump.
I love this bit. I laughed a little bit.
Just this whole jump, I had so many problems with. Also
in this timeline, Tommy's a nice boy and he loves everyone, and now he's not fucking like a psycho dog killer. He's a nice boy, and he's trying to help Evan because Evan's got no arms, and everyone's all nice to Evan.
Everyone's really happy.
Everyone's having a great time, and Evan's just sat there with no arms, and he's the only one having a shit time.
Yeah, so he's been jumping to save his friends and Tommy. And the first one he gets to, where he's like, pretty much everyone's having a lovely time. I know what I'll do. I'll try and break up Lenny and Kaylee. What a fucking dick move. He like pulls her aside and is basically like, do you really like him? Because
if I can't have her, no one can.
Yeah, he's like, no one will love you as much as I love you. And it's just such a... I was like, I don't even trying to help them. What are you doing?
Yeah, I felt the same. I was just like, really?
Think of what he could do with those stumps.
Jesus Christ, Andy.
So he's obviously realizes that in the current state, he's not going to get Kaylee. He's not going to have his happy ending. He tries to break up that relationship, obviously.
Like literally within 10 minutes.
Yeah. Within 10 minutes of realizing this is his life now, he tries to drown himself, and Tommy, the good guy Tommy, saves him from drowning himself in the bathtub. And Tommy is saying that, you know, you shouldn't do this. I know it's hard, all that kind of stuff. You know, you shouldn't be like this. And he said, I can't even kill myself.
Well, I mean, he did a pretty poor job though, didn't he? He should have gone face first instead of on his back.
What was he in? Because he was wrapped up in something, right?
He was in his clothes.
Oh, I thought because it's quite hard to drown yourself. Like, it's near impossible to drown yourself, so I've heard. But I thought he was like wrapped up in something so that he couldn't move his arms.
His arms weren't there anyway, so...
No, but like, how did he get in the bathtub then? Oh, I suppose with his...
He fell in. You could tell by the way his legs were that he fell in, because his legs were hanging off one edge. If he'd gone head first, so his face was at the bottom, he would have been all right. But I say all right, he would have drowned.
He wouldn't have been all right at all.
But he didn't. It also looked like quite a deep bath, but it still didn't cover his face.
Yeah, it was just literally up to his nose.
Yeah, and it was almost about to overflow. It never would have... I don't think it ever would have killed him because it would have just started flowing out of the bath. So I just imagined him like,
No, it wouldn't.
like this. And it's flowing out of the bath. And he could have sat there for hours while he flooded the flat. He's still like, what are you doing?
So he doesn't like himself being like this, obviously. So he goes back to the child pedo scene. And during that scene now, he still calls the dad fuckbag during this scene. But he grabs the dynamite and decides to light it in front of the dad. But what ends up happening is it falls out of his hand. Child Kaylee picks it up and goes, sparkler! And
How did he get to that jump? Because I've written... no arms, no journals.
gets Lenny to get it.
Yeah. So he was reading journals from before he lost his arms.
Yeah, because he wanted to go back to a different point in time.
The mailbox.
But he hadn't written them because he didn't have any arms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
That was it. And so he has to go back even further. But yeah, then he blows her up.
So Sparkler happens. In this timeline, he wakes up and Evan is in a mental asylum.
I've written, oh shit, is it real? Is it not real? Because if this had all turned out to be a dream or some bullshit like that, I was going to angry Joyce about that ending. I was ready to go off.
I remember what happens at the end, but after this bit, I can't remember. I think he goes to see the doctor and he's kind of like, I need those journals. I need those journals. I need them now. Kaylee at this point is
Dead.
Yeah.
Tommy is... I can't remember where everyone is in the last flashback.
I don't think you find out where Tommy is.
So he tries to get the journals, and the way he does this, I put the start scene happens. I don't know what that means.
Because the doctor says there aren't any journals. What are you talking about? Like, you're always,
Yeah.
you're like your dad.
Yeah.
Your dad said he always wanted a photo album that didn't exist. And that's why I thought it wasn't real, because he was like, oh, you've made this up because you felt bad over it. And like you being in the prison. So I was like, fuck, is this all made up? Because then I'll be really cross.
Yeah, that's why I put the start scene happen. So, I mean, this first scene we see from the film happens here, where he goes into the office and he's starting to write the note of, if anyone finds this, the only way I can save her. So he watches a VHS tape that the mum brings for a visit.
Yeah, he's got no journals. So he gets old home movies.
So apparently the home movies work just as good.
Who would have thought it?
This is the bit that annoyed me because he's never tested that theory.
Yeah.
He's only ever used journals. And then suddenly he uses a fucking projector in film.
Yeah.
But in theory, if it's the reading of the memory, technically where he goes back to, he doesn't remember it. Like, I've been to Portugal. I don't remember going to Portugal, but there's pictures. So in theory...
Did you black out every single trip?
I was like 3. So you don't remember, but like maybe it's like the picture of me in Portugal, I'd flash back to Portugal.
Yeah. I decided to give it a pass because I was like, okay, it moves the story into the final bit. The final bit? What?
Oh, can I ask? Because there's more than one ending, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about the ending we saw, and then I think Andy can elaborate on the hidden endings.
Do we know where the endings start?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it here?
No.
After his last flashback with VHS tapes?
I think it's at the film point where he watches the film.
Okay.
But I think it's a different film every time.
Okay.
Okay, so what happens is Evan watches this VHS tape, which is of one when he's a baby in his mother's womb. So literally he flashes back to when he's in the womb of his mother and she's about to give birth in the hospital.
Fetus flashback.
He's now a baby in a womb. Mom is screaming, saying, it's coming, it's coming. They get into the room and they find out that the baby is choking itself because he's in his mind of a baby. The baby has the mind of a 20-something-year-old and knows what's happening.
You mean he wraps the cord around his neck?
I think that's what they say is that he wrapped.
Yeah.
That actually happened to me in real life when I was born.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Not me.
Maybe I'm Ashton Kutcher. Maybe I don't even... That's why I keep blacking out.
I shouldn't be here.
I have no soul. And we knew that.
So, yeah, he ends up the only way, and what is normally the trope with these films is that the only way you can make everything right for everyone else is to not play God and make sure you die.
You shouldn't mess with time, basically.
Exactly. And he ends up killing himself in the womb. What I don't get is that surely the mum is going to have a fucking terrible time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And smoke cigarettes and get lung cancer, which, by the way, was the reason why he wanted to go, because she had lung cancer.
Yeah.
She has another kid.
Yeah, but she has 3 dead in a row. That's going to fuck her up.
I was going to say, when do you stop having stillborn kids?
Yeah.
But then that's the point, because his dad was like, it has to end with me. And that's why he tried to kill Evan. If they don't have any more kids, then it will stop happening.
Well, she's got a new partner and they have a kid.
Oh, yeah, Chuck, innit?
Oh, they do have a kid.
Chuck?
Doesn't he ring up at one point? His mum is like, me and Chuck aren't here.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh, hey, mum, I called you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, hey, Chuck. So she can have another kid, she can't have one with Crazy Jason.
So, yeah, he kills himself as a baby or in the womb. And Kaylee gets married. Everyone's having a great old time. Tommy's great. Lenny's great. All his friends are having a great time and he's dead. The end. Black. Done.
Woo!
What I liked about that bit is that you see his mum has like a new kid and is married. Kaylee gets married. Tommy is living a good life. And Lenny has a good birthday party.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what?
Poor Lenny. He never got Kaylee as well. He just had a good birthday party.
Right. Andy, tell us about the Wayne's World endings. I'm excited.
I haven't watched these yet, so...
No, me neither.
Me neither, so I'm going strictly off Wikipedia.
I think you've seen them.
Well, I have, but not for a long time.
Oh, I was going to watch them, but I had a nap instead.
So there's 3 other ones. The one that we watched was the director's edition, but there's the theatrical release is him going back to when they first meet, and he's essentially a dickhead to her, so they don't become friends. And the only reason she sticks around with her dad is because she wants to be near Evan. So the fact that he's a dick means that she can go live with her mum.
Right.
And it saves them both.
If you went to the cinema, this is what you would have seen.
Correct. That was the theatrical version.
That's probably the better version because he doesn't end up killing himself.
Yeah.
And yeah. Why would he just...
The whole end is the same, but he's alive then.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm not done yet.
Oh.
Okay.
He burns the journals. He wakes up in the same dorm room as Lenny, and he's like, who's Kaylee? So he doesn't know who Kaylee is. Burn the journals. And then he's in New York 8 years later, leaves an office building, walks past Kaylee.
Ugh.
There's a look of recognition.
No, I'm out.
And then they decide to keep on walking.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
No.
Oh.
That's the theatrical version. There's 2 other versions that follow on from that one. So the happy ending...
is they recognise each other and they get together.
They cross paths, they introduce themselves, and Evan asks her out for a coffee, which makes the whole film pretty redundant.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's an Angry Joyce ending.
We don't learn anything here.
And the open-ended version is similar to the one where Evan and Kaylee pass each other on the sidewalk and keep walking, except this time, Evan, after hesitating, turns and follows Kaylee.
That's not creepy.
What?
I'd rather they did it like Wayne's World, a Scooby-Doo.
Can I ask you your name?
That was open-ended.
I think I know you from somewhere.
That's terrifying. Don't ever do that again.
That's my anime voice.
That's haunting my dreams.
Andy Senpai, you noticed me.
Oh, did we send by?
Anyway,
None of those are things that are satisfying.
I think the one where, they don't become friends would have been the best one.
No, I don't really like this too.
Or he just walks on by and they don't meet. They don't say anything. Just
Yeah, I don't need that bit where they might meet each other. Like,
yeah, I hate
if
that.
you'd have just not been friends with her and everything changed and he got on and met someone else and did a prank show or something, then that would have been...
What?
Prank show.
Fuck's sake, we're not talking about TikTok again, are we?
Oh god.
No, 90s TikTok, punked.
Oh, yeah.
We got to wrap this up. Can I have scores on the doors, please, Andy?
I really like this film. I enjoyed rewatching it, but fuck me, it has ruined my day. It's really sucked the life out of me, as you can probably tell.
Where there was no life at all.
If I had a soul before, I don't now, put it that way.
So I'm going to give it an 8.
That's generous. Penny?
I'm going to give it a 7, not counting those other endings, otherwise it would be less.
There's a lot of things that we could have touched on more, like the repercussions of the abuse that Tommy got as a kid and all the psychiatric stuff. And honestly, it's a rabbit hole trying to fork all that stuff in.
I did really like it. It was really sunny outside today and I had a nice day and this was a massive downer. So
I'm really sorry. I'll take full responsibility for this.
It's fine. It's fine. I just wasn't expecting it, I think. I think it was maybe the first what the fuck Andy came within the first 8 minutes of the film.
It was, yeah.
And that was child porn.
Yeah. I obviously didn't remember it well enough when I suggested it in the hat because it is not a fun watch. But I still enjoyed it.
Yeah. And it was a good, we all know not to mess with stuff when you time travel.
As Sam, our mutual friend Sam, said to me yesterday, this is the film that people watch when they think they're into alternative cinema, but they aren't really. This and sort of Fight Club, and they're all that kind of
Memento.
transgressive.
I'll put this with Fight Club.
Memento as well, yeah. They're all transgressive fiction, and they all leave you feeling a little bit fucking defeated.
Have you ever watched Memento in order?
No.
Yeah.
I think I did a really long time ago, because it's not in order, is it? But on the DVD, you can watch it in order as well.
Yeah.
Might have to do that.
Pretty much.
Just to keep my brain.
I'm also going to give it a 7. It's definitely like not as bad as I thought it would be, just on the premise of the Aston Kutchers in it, and it's about time travel and going back and stuff. But it's actually enjoyable. I did laugh a bit sometimes, which was, I guess, a good thing. But yeah, it's not a film to make you feel happy. Definitely not. But yeah, it's interesting.
Don't watch it on a date or anything.
Yeah, don't do that.
Or recommend it for your whole family to watch.
It smells like sex in here.
Yeah, Stumper had a busy afternoon.
You're kidding. He's so big.
Yeah, well, I guess charisma and eyeliner go a long way.
Anyway, this is where we pick a film, and we will discuss it at the end of next week's podcast.
God, I hope it's something cheery.
The film is, I really do too.
I'm trying to think how many on my list are cheery.
It's one of Penny's.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, fuck.
Is it another horror movie? Because a lot of them are.
I know this film. I've seen parts of it, but I haven't seen the full thing, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Yes!
Yay. Andy, I think you'll like it.
I know Elvira.
Elvira. I'm sorry, I didn't want to be that
all
person,
right.
but Elvira.
I know Elvira. I'm going to make sure I have a lot of things near me whilst I'm watching it.
I love her.
Refreshments.
Yeah, I was like,
I met her at a convention a few years ago. I don't want to put an age on her. I don't know. She looks fucking great.
She's in her 60s.
Yeah, I was disappointed she wasn't dressed as Elvira, because sometimes she does and sometimes she doesn't at conventions. But I met Cassandra Peterson and she was wonderful, and she's got cracking boobs.
Do you know what? She's 68.
She looks incredible. I'm a big fan. So yeah.
big fan of the big boobs. Anyway.
You can quote that. I'm a big fan of Elvira's boobs. There you go. Put it on the poster.
So we're watching that next week. So if you want to see it or you want to come along with the discussion, join us next week for that. We'll be on episode 5 next week. Holy shit, we hit a milestone.
Maybe someone will have heard them other than us by then.
Yeah, maybe someone would actually send in some comments so we can have some interactivity with our own audience maybe one day.
We haven't got an audience yet. Nobody's heard it.
All you guys out there, you're all special. The amount of comments I get a day, tell me about it.
So when there is an audience, you can find us on Instagram at Unusual Suspects Pod and on Twitter at Unusual Podspec, which is really awkward, but we're not changing it again. Andy, your Twitter?
My Twitter is Joyces21.
Dan
Talks a lot.
And mine's at Penny_photopit.
And also, assuming that we're on these podcatching services, do share them around. If we're on Spotify, if we're on Apple Podcasts, if we're on any of those, do share them around. We'll be on one of them. Basically, if you have friends who like movies or like friends who, majority of the time, especially where this podcast has been going for the first few episodes, like terrible films most of the time, but also like to talk about things like, weird things we find in films, do share them around. All 3 of us will probably appreciate that. Not sure about Andy. Yeah, we'll be back next week. For more fun, guys.
Sorry, I feel so defeated. I really struggled. That film has taken a toll.
Oh, it's ruined you.
I know. I'll never be the same again. I need to go dig out one of my journals and reread it.
Don't change anything.
Thank you very much for listening to the podcast. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. These are getting weirder.
You guys are awful.